In the skies above Europe in the late 1930s, a storm was quietly gathering. Germany, rearming with a determination born of both pride and desperation, had unleashed a fighter that would redefine aerial combat, the Messerschmitt Bf-109, first taking flight in 1935. The Bf-109 was more than just a machine. It was a testament to engineering ambition. Its sleek lines and compact frame promised speed and firepower, a combination that would make it one of the most feared aircraft in history. Over the years, it would evolve through multiple variants, each one faster, stronger, and deadlier, eventually culminating in the E-Series, which faced the Royal Air Force during the climactic Battle of Britain. The very first flights of the Bf-109 hinted at a revolution in air warfare. Pilots marveled at its agility, the raw responsiveness of its controls, and the way it seemed to merge man and machine into a single entity. But it wasn't perfect. Narrow landing gear made takeoffs and landings precarious. The cockpit was tight, offering little room for comfort and requiring pilots to endure grueling hours of high-altitude stress. Yet the advantages far outweighed the challenges. Its maximum speed of 357 miles per hour, combined with a climb ceiling of 36,000 feet, meant the Bf-109 could dictate the terms of engagement, and its armament, a combination of MG-17 machine guns and 20mm cannons, allowed pilots to punch above their weight, capable of bringing down even the most resilient Allied bombers. By mid-1939, the Luftwaffe's fighter command had begun to rely heavily on the Bf-109, recognizing that future wars would be decided not by infantry alone but by dominance in the air. From Spain's skies during the Civil War, where the Bf-109 had already proven its worth, to the Blitzkrieg campaigns in Poland and France, the aircraft became both weapon and symbol of Germany's rising aerial might. Its pilots, hardened through combat and disciplined in tactics, embodied the lethal synergy between man and machine. Yet, as ominous clouds gathered over the English Channel, even the most seasoned Luftwaffe commanders could not foresee the challenges awaiting them in the skies above Britain. Already, whispers among Allied intelligence hinted at what was coming. Radar stations along England's coast were being prepared to detect incoming raids. Fighter Command was secretly testing tactics to exploit the weaknesses of the Bf-109. The pilots of the RAF, though fewer in number, were about to engage in battles that would test courage, skill, and endurance in ways previously unimaginable. The stage was set, and the tension was palpable. How would these sleek German fighters fare against the legendary Spitfires and Hurricanes that had defended Britain in smaller skirmishes? The answer would come with fire, smoke, and courage in the air above southern England. The Bf-109 itself was more than steel and rivets. It had a personality. Pilots would describe it as temperamental, rewarding those who respected its limits and punishing the over. Its quick acceleration made it deadly in a dive. Its climb rate allowed pilots to attack from above, and yet, a misjudged maneuver could send the aircraft spinning uncontrollably toward the earth. Stories from the French campaign recounted pilots narrowly surviving crashes that would have killed lesser men, a testament to both the machine's resilience and the human determination of its operators. The war was coming, and soon these machines would meet their ultimate test. As the Luftwaffe prepared its assault on Britain in the summer of 1940, each sortie was meticulously planned. Pilots like Karl Ebbinghausen and Werner Mulders led formations designed to overwhelm through speed, firepower, and coordination. But even the most carefully calculated plans could be undone by the unpredictable nature of aerial combat. Clouds, shifting winds, and the unpredictable tactics of the RAF meant that every engagement could turn deadly in an instant. The Bf-109 was a masterful weapon, but in the hands of pilots facing equally skilled adversaries, no advantage was absolute. At this point, the Luftwaffe believed victory would come swiftly. The Bf-109s would escort bombers over London, suppress the RAF, and pave the way for Operation Sea Lion, Germany's planned invasion of Britain. Confidence was high, but intelligence reports suggested that the RAF had developed new strategies to exploit the very quirks of the Bf-109 that its designers had considered. A fighter that excelled in speed and climb could be vulnerable in prolonged dogfights at lower altitudes, a subtle flaw that could turn the tide of an entire campaign. Please, if you're finding this story captivating, take a moment to click the subscribe button and like the video. It helps more people discover this incredible history of courage, technology, and the raw realities of aerial combat. The skies over Britain were about to erupt in a struggle that would become the defining air battle of the war. The Luftwaffe's Bf-109s, built to dominate, would find that design, firepower, and skill alone could not guarantee victory. What would happen when the pilots of the RAF, in smaller numbers but armed with determination and strategy, met these formidable machines head-on? The answer would shock both sides and alter the course of the Second World War forever. Summer 1940 arrived over England with an intensity that belied the calm countryside below. The Luftwaffe, confident after their victories in France and the Low Countries, now turned their gaze toward the British Isles. They brought with them formations of Bf-109 SA, sleek and deadly, accompanied by Dorniers and Heinkels, meant to pummel Britain's defenses. Above the Channel, the first real tests began. Clouds of silver fighters cut through the morning sky, engines roaring, and in the cockpits, young pilots gripped their controls, adrenaline mixing with a heavy sense of purpose. The Battle of Britain had begun. For Karl Ebbinghausen, a veteran pilot, the early sorties were textbook operations: escort bombers to their targets, fend off RAF fighters, and return to base with as many planes intact as possible. But soon, the reality of fighting over hostile territory became clear. Spitfires appeared out of nowhere, nimble and sharp, turning on a dime in ways that tested even the most experienced Luftwaffe pilots. Hurricanes, sturdy and dependable, were relentless in their attacks, often forcing Bf-109s into high-speed maneuvers that risked structural damage or loss of control. Each engagement was a delicate balance of aggression and caution. Every pilot knew that a split-second miscalculation could mean death. The skies above Dover on one September morning became a theater of chaos. Bf-109s streaked across the blue, diving on formations of RAF fighters, cannon fire flashing, smoke trails marking both victories and losses. One German pilot, separated from his squadron, suddenly found himself facing 3 Spitfires. Closing in from the sun, his only chance was to dive sharply, risking a spin that could prove fatal. As he made his maneuver, the roar of engines and rattle of machine guns filled the sky, and for a moment, it seemed the battle could tip either way. This battle was not fought in isolation. It was a chess game in 3 dimensions. The Luftwaffe relied on coordinated formations, the famous finger-four tactics, while the RAF used the flexibility of smaller groups to exploit every weakness. Pilots like Don Kinabi became legends not by brute force, but by mastering timing, anticipating the Bf-109's moves, and turning the German fighters' advantages against it. Each dogfight became a mental and physical ordeal. Who would outthink whom in a battle where altitude, speed, and angle of attack determined life or death? By mid-September, the skies above London saw intense raids designed to draw out the RAF. For the Bf-109 SA, this meant engaging both defensive squadrons and the unpredictable bomber formations that were sometimes escorted by hurricanes. Fuel ran low in many aircraft. Engines overheated. Pilots suffered from the relentless strain of high-speed maneuvers. Casualties mounted, but the Luftwaffe pressed on, believing sheer persistence would break the British spirit. Yet the RAF held firm, radar stations directing interceptors with uncanny precision. Each raid was a dance of strategy and survival, with aircraft weaving a deadly tapestry across the sky. In one particularly harrowing sortie, a German pilot found himself facing multiple Hof fighters as his squadron leader was shot down. Outnumbered and with ammunition running low, he had to make a choice: fight until destruction or attempt an evasive retreat over enemy territory. Below him, the English countryside stretched serene and indifferent, a stark contrast to the violence in the air. The pilot dove, banking sharply, and for a heartbeat. It seemed he might escape, but then a Spitfire appeared beneath him, guns blazing. Meanwhile, the Bf-109's technical strengths continued to impress. Its ability to climb rapidly allowed pilots to strike from unexpected angles, while its firepower could decimate a hurricane in seconds. However, its limitations became painfully obvious. Its narrow undercarriage made landings perilous, its range limited, and in prolonged its engine risked overheating. RAF pilots learned to exploit these flaws, drawing German fighters into low-altitude skirmishes, where the Bf-109's climb advantage was negated, and turning the tide in key encounters over Brighton and Dover. Despite the chaos, camaraderie and discipline held the Luftwaffe formations together. Orders were issued, positions maintained, and pilots looked to one another for signals amid the smoke and confusion. Yet, even the most coordinated squadron could not predict the ingenuity of a single RAF ace. One day, a lone pilot's daring maneuver would disrupt an entire formation, forcing German fighters into a hasty retreat. The unpredictability of aerial combat meant that no victory was guaranteed, no defeat final. Each sortie added a new chapter to the unfolding story of the Battle of Britain. As raids continued over London, the resilience of both sides became painfully clear. Pilots flew multiple missions per day, fatigue and fear ever-present companions. And while the Bf-109 was a marvel of engineering, human skill ultimately determined success. One miscalculation, one misjudged dive or turn, could end a life instantly. The skies above Britain had become a proving ground, where the mettle of men and the mastery of machines were tested relentlessly. The stage was set for the turning points of the battle, and though the Luftwaffe was determined, the ingenuity and courage of the RF would make history. Each engagement revealed a delicate balance of power, strategy, and sheer bravery. The question remained, could the Luftwaffe, with its technologically superior fighters, finally break the will of Britain? Or would the resolute defenders of the skies prevail? The coming days would reveal answers that neither side fully anticipated, and the skies of southern England would never look the same again. Amid the vast squadrons of the Luftwaffe's Bf-109s, one particular aircraft carried a story that would illuminate the human and mechanical realities of the Battle of Britain. Work number 1190, Ane 3V, Orient, built in Leipzig in September 1939, began its career under the hands of Karl Ebighausen, a pilot seasoned by the campaigns in France and the Low Countries. Its sleek fuselage, carefully maintained, bore the markings of its first victories. The faint outlines, commemorating aircraft downed over France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Every scratch, every dent told a story of survival and triumph in the relentless crucible of aerial warfare. Ebighausen's relationship with 1190 was more than mechanical. Pilots spoke of their planes as if they were living partners in battle, each responding differently to controls, altitude, and maneuvers. And indeed, this Bf-109 had personality. Temperamental yet responsive, punishing mistakes and rewarding precision. On early missions over the English Channel, it proved itself, climbing swiftly to intercept HARF formations and diving with deadly accuracy. But its ultimate trial would come not from technical limitations alone, but from the unpredictable theater of war itself. During a critical bombing escort over southern England on September 30th, 1940, the plane was piloted by Horst Perez, a 22-year-old replacing the fallen Ebighausen. Perez, nervous yet determined, maneuvered 1190 above London's skyline, the roar of engines competing with the distant sounds of anti-aircraft fire. Suddenly, a formation of RAF Spitfires emerged from clouds at high speed. Perez attempted evasive maneuvers, banking sharply, trying to gain altitude. But the engines began to sputter. Smoke and the scent of overheating oil filled the cockpit. The plane, his trusted companion, faltered under him. Could he survive this encounter, or was the machine that had carried him so far about to betray him? The crash landing near Easting was both miraculous and terrifying. 1190 skidded across fields, skimming fences, bouncing over uneven ground, until it finally came to a halt. Perez emerged, shaken but alive, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over him. The plane, though lightly damaged, had survived the impact. It was quickly seized by British authorities and transported to Farnborough for examination. There, engineers marveled at its design. The precise engineering, the efficient use of space, and the lethal potential that had made it such a formidable opponent. What secrets did this single plane hold about German aerial strategy and pilot survival under pressure? In captivity, Perez reflected on the close relationship between man and machine. Every sortie had been a test of nerves and skill. Every maneuver a dance with life and death. Pilots on both sides shared similar experiences: the adrenaline, the fear, the acute awareness that one misstep could end everything. 1190 was more than a weapon. It was a repository of human history, carrying the imprints of its operators and the echoes of aerial battles that would decide the fate of nations. Meanwhile, British engineers and intelligence officers studied the aircraft carefully. They noted the Bf-109's narrow landing gear, the limited rear visibility, and the peculiar quirks of its engine that could fail under sustained strain. This knowledge would be crucial in adapting RAF tactics, allowing pilots to exploit the very strengths and weaknesses of the aircraft they faced in combat. The story of 1190 was unfolding in two parallel theaters: the personal experience of the pilots who flew it, and the broader strategic implications for the war effort. Decades later, 1190 would undergo meticulous restoration. Its panels were replaced, its cockpit refurbished, and its original markings preserved to reflect the history it had witnessed. Standing today in a museum, it represents more than engineering prowess. It embodies the courage of pilots, the ferocity of aerial combat, and the complex interplay of human skill and mechanical design. Visitors can peer into the cramped cockpit, imagining the tension and focus required to maneuver the plane while under fire. Each control, each levea, tells a story of life and death. Decisions made in fractions of seconds. The legacy of 1190 also underscores the role of memory in preserving history. Through photographs, oral histories, and physical artifacts, the experiences of pilots and their aircraft continue to educate and inspire. Every dent, every marking, carries the weight of sacrifice and innovation. And as historians reconstruct these events, the stories of individual planes like 1190 give texture to the broader narrative of the Battle of Britain, reminding us that history is lived through people and the machines they mastered. If you are captivated by the journey of work, number 1190 and the men who flew it, please click the subscribe button and like the video. Your support helps more people see the incredible blend of human courage and technological ingenuity that defined this era. The story of 1190 also raises haunting questions. How many other planes carried tailies like this, lost to history? And what might have happened if this aircraft, or the pilots who flew it, had been on the opposite side of fate during the pivotal battles over Britain's skies? Its journey is a lens through which we can explore the drama, tension, and skill that defined the air war in 1940. And the answers may surprise even the most knowledgeable history enthusiasts. Today, the restored Messerschmitt Bf-109 E3, work numero 1190, sits proudly in the Imperial War Museum, a silent witness to the skies of 1940. Its polished fuselage glints under exhibition lights, but the real story lies inside the cramped cockpit. Step in and feel the claustrophobia, the limited visibility, the sensitive controls that demanded precision from a pilot whose life depended on split-second decisions. This aircraft was more than metal. It was a crucible of human courage and mechanical innovation, forged in the flames of a war that would define an entire generation. For historians and enthusiasts alike, 1190 embodies lessons that extend far beyond its physical presence. Its narrow fuselage and delicate landing gear remind us that technological superiority is never absolute. Every sortie flown over France and Britain demonstrated that engineering prowess must be matched with training, skill, and quick thinking. The Bf-109 taught pilots to respect their machine, to push its limits without overstepping them, and to rely on teamwork in the chaos of aerial warfare. Yet, it also showed that even the finest aircraft could be undone by a combination of fatigue, tactical misjudgment, and environmental unpredictability. The technical evolution of the Bf-109 provides a blueprint of wartime innovation, from early models with limited armament and modest engines to the it is capable of outclimbing most adversaries. Every iteration reflected lessons learned from combat. Engineers adapted designs to the realities of war, adding armor, adjusting wingspans, and improving engines to keep pace with advancing Allied technology. The aircraft's adaptability was remarkable. Yet it was the men who flew it who transformed potential into results. A skilled pilot could turn a Bf-109 into a decisive weapon, while in inexperienced hands, the same plane could be a liability. Reflecting on the Battle of Britain, the Bf-109 also illuminates the broader strategic context. While numerically superior, the Luftwaffe struggled against the RAV's ingenuity, the advantage of radar, and the defensive infrastructure of Britain. The technical strengths of the Bf-109, its speed, climb, and firepower were countered by strategic insight, agile aircraft like the Spitfire, and the unyielding determination of RAF pilots. Every encounter became a microcosm of the larger war. Planning versus improvisation, technology versus tactics, human skill versus mechanical might. And yet, the human stories embedded in these aircraft remain the most compelling. Pilots like Karl Ebbinghausen, Horst Perez, and countless others experienced fear, exhilaration, and moral ambiguity in equal measure. Some survived, some did not. Some returned to fly again. Others spent the remainder of the war in prison camps. Work number 1190s. Journey from Leipzig to battlefields, crash sites, and finally restoration offers a rare window into this lived reality, revealing the intimate interplay between human experience and historical events. The aircraft's restoration decades later serves as both a memorial and an educational tool. Museums around the world now display Bf-109s as objects of study and reflection. Visitors can examine every panel, lever, and instrument, imagining the tiny cockpit housing a pilot who faced enemy fire at hundreds of miles per hour, relying on instinct, skill, and training. Every scar, scratch, and repaired panel speaks of the harrowing conditions of aerial warfare and the remarkable resilience of both machine and man. But the story of the Bf-109 is not confined to museums. Its influence shaped post-war aviation, informing aircraft design, tactical doctrines, and the philosophy of aerial combat. Engineers and pilots analyzed its strengths and weaknesses, lessons that carried into the jet age. Fighter tactics, formation flying, and air-to-air engagement strategies still bear the imprint of experiences forged above the English Channel. In this sense, every flight of the Bf-109 contributed to the evolution of modern air warfare, extending its legacy far beyond the Battle of Britain. Ultimately, the Bf-109 exemplifies the intricate relationship between technology and humanity in war. It reminds us that machines, no matter how advanced, cannot replace skill, courage, and ingenuity. Yet it also underscores the profound impact of innovation, showing how engineering can amplify human potential and alter the course of history. In the quiet halls of the museum, surrounded by stories of valor and ingenuity, the Bf-109 stands as a testament to the tension, drama, and triumph of the Second World War. Looking back, we see that every aircraft, every pilot, every sortie was part of a larger narrative-based story of resilience, adaptation, and the constant push and pull between human capability and technological evolution. From work number 1192, the countless other Bf-109s that flew, crashed, and were lost. These machines tell a story not only of war, but of history itself, a story that continues to teach, fascinate, and inspire generations who seek to understand the skies of 1940. The Battle of Britain may have ended, but the legacy of the Bf-109, and the men who mastered it, continues to soar. Its tale is etched in history, metal, and memory, a powerful reminder that every flight, every maneuver, every encounter shaped the trajectory of a world at war.